want to begin by appreciating the Commandant for what I must confess was a very surprising invitation when I got it. And I thought to myself, I don't know how it will go when I come and stand before a hall full of military men. And I had already convinced myself that everything will be okay. And when I was walking in and I saw the large number of military personnel, I will try not to be intimidated. Today, I am most proud and deeply honored to stand before all you fine officers and gentlemen, and ladies as the case may be. But despite the calm demeanor and the comportment that you may observe, I must admit, I stand before you here battling with a bit of imposter syndrome. I was talking to my brother yesterday, His Eminence, the Sultan, who, by the way, despite the seriousness of his office, has a great sense of humor. And there he is, boldly recommending me, all the way from Warri, to come and address Nigeria's bravest. And I said, Your Eminence, this is easy for you to pull off. After all, you were a successful soldier, a successful officer rather, before being elevated to the exalted throne of the Caliphate. Also, the seat of the Caliphate was established via military might and conquest. So he has a double advantage in this regard, because my own throne was more, if you want to call it, divine in its formation. And of course, there he is laughing, knowing fully well that he has set me up. But through divine guidance, we will be able to maneuver through all of this. So today, I believe we're speaking on strengthening family values as a force for national security, the role of traditional institutions. As I have just laid out, I am no expert, but I am a family man. And I also happen to head a traditional institution. And for good luck or sentiment, I have also made an attempt today to adorn myself in the colors of the Nigerian Army. So perhaps next time I'll patronize the other branches of the armed forces. So let us go on this journey together. And as Nigerians always say, God will help us and see us through. Some of my most fond memories from a very young age in my family setting involved the military. My maternal grandfather, he was a heavy disciplinarian, and he ran a very tight ship in his household. It was no wonder that I would end up having two uncles go on to join the armed forces. The older joined the Air Force, Squadron Leader Adebayo Shaw of Regular Course 22, who rose quickly to become the ADC to the then military governor of Lagos, Air Commodore Bolahon Mudashiru. Unfortunately, he passed away in 1993. The younger joined the army, Colonel Kolawole Shaw, as part of course SSC 25. He was proudly decorated by the late President Umaru Musa Yar'Adua here in Kaduna back in July 2008 for his exploits at the Army Post-Service Housing Development. We were so proud watching him to be pinned by the president. Both men inspired us to be neat, to be punctual, to be disciplined, to be honest, and to be alive to our responsibilities, whatever the definition. They also inspired us to be bold in the face of adversity. At that point in my young life, I thought they were the coolest members of my extended family. The impression they had on me was so indelible that I started to dream and come up with a great hybrid. And my plan was very simple: to take all that I admired and valued from these men and merge it to my royal heritage and pedigree. And I guaranteed myself that I would become the finest of the finest. Growing up in Warri, GRA in the 90s, the famous naval base, NNS Umalokun, as it was then known, was a stone's throw away from our residence. I was fascinated with that place and all its military grandeur and the discipline that it exuded. Above all, the immaculate white uniforms. Those guys were so fresh. And as we say in Warri, nothing stained their white at all. Then came the time to sell my great hybrid plan to my father, His Majesty Ogiame Atuwatse II, CON. Like the British royal family, which had centuries-old practice of placing sons of the royal family in military regiments and training and upbringing, also to instill discipline and order in their lives, and to better prepare them for tasks and responsibilities that lie ahead. I had my list. The then Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, the then Prince of Wales, Prince Charles, now His Majesty King Charles III, and his two sons, Princes William and Harry. I had listed all of them as towering examples of what goes right when royalty and military are in sync. I had even done some research on some northern Nigerian royal houses who had encouraged their sons to join the Nigerian army, with those sons also going on to become emirs themselves. Everything was making sense. If the northerner can join the army, then we, Shekiri princes down south, we can join the navy. After all, we are a riverine people. The water is our natural habitat. The appellation, the Olo of Warri, is Ogiame, which is King of Water. So that is why the Navy was the perfect destination for my plan. In fact, I had imagined it that the Navy would be so thrilled and honored to partner with this blue-blooded lineage. This is what you call perfect alignment. God was in this plan. Nothing could go wrong. I am still yet to recover from the way my father turned me down. The theme for that brief session was based on one chapter in the Bible. I still have it here. Let me read it to your hearing. The book of Proverbs, chapter 19, verse 21, specifically from the NIV translation. My father said to me, "You can make many plans, but it is the Lord's will that will prevail." As you can imagine, this has gone on to become one of my most memorable verses of the Bible. But despite that unfortunate personal setback, what I have not changed my mind about is the effect of discipline, hard work, order, justice, and other core values that are treasured by the military. Their positive impact in the life of any individual and the ripple effect that carries on into their families, their societies, and eventually the nation. In many societies, monarchy evolved naturally as a system of governance. In Nigeria, colonial powers encountered well-established kingdoms, and despite introducing their own administrative structures, relied heavily on the authority of traditional rulers to govern effectively at the local level. After independence, Nigeria retained the British governance model, but gradually, traditional rulers were stripped of formal power and reduced to largely ceremonial roles. Yet, the institution endures, rooted in divine alignment, ancestral heritage, the force and testimony of nature, and the will of the people. In a nation where many people still identify first with their ethnic or tribal roots, traditional rulers carry symbolic and practical weight. Their behavior, their values, and their decisions shape community norms. When a ruler embodies integrity, discipline, and vision, the people not only take note, they follow. These leaders are not just figureheads. They are the custodians of values, the keepers of heritage, and the arbiters of moral order. They serve as societal thermostats, quickly setting the moral and cultural temperature. A key factor in the resilience of this institution is succession planning. In many systems, especially those guided by primogeniture, succession is more than lineage. It is a generational vision. It ensures continuity, stability, and the preservation of values over time. As the saying goes, every man is king in his own castle. When people see values upheld in their traditional institutions, they are more likely to replicate them in their own homes. Over the last 25 years, Nigeria has been faced with widespread insecurity, from terrorism and banditry to kidnappings and organized crime. In nearly every case, perpetrators are community members acting against long-established norms of moral conduct. Traditional rulers are often tasked with identifying and sanctioning offenders. Sometimes this is successful, but often these criminals operate within deeply entrenched networks that disregard community authority. Historically, punishment for such crime was swift and symbolic, ranging from public flogging and hard labor to ostracism, or in grave cases, capital punishment. These actions were not taken lightly. They were guided by traditional justice systems and overseen by the head of the institution. But before punishment came prevention. In the past, families gathered to share stories, oral traditions filled with moral lessons that shaped children's character. Today, these communal moments have faded. The rise of individualism and the pressure of capitalism have left many children unsupervised, vulnerable to outside influences, and disconnected from their roots. This is where we must highlight the power of narrative, the power of telling stories. This is why media is so influential. And the late Steve Jobs said, "The most powerful person in the world is a storyteller." Our traditional institutions in this part of the world, we were the original storytellers, shaping narrative of what was good and acceptable in the societies that they superintended. Even with all the digital distractions in the world today, with proper consultation, with funding and organization, traditional institutions are still very relevant and influential in shaping narrative and norms in our society today. If social media influencers can rise out of thin air, how much so an institution that has been tested by time? All we have to do is be ready to engage and be fluid, like water. And I assure you, Ogiame knows a thing or two about water. But we'll discuss our consultancy and royalties with the commandant at another time. Nigeria remains a largely collectivist society. Community reputation still holds weight. The family is the smallest unit of that community and the engine room where character is formed. When crimes occur, investigation often traces back to the family. If there is a history of such behavior, the community is not surprised. If not, the individual is seen as a pariah who has brought shame upon their people. In either case, the family remains the first and most powerful institution of moral formation. Traditional rulers, often through their chiefs, assign punishments to serve not just justice, but as a public deterrent. Shame and honor operate powerfully in collectivist cultures, and the public nature of discipline reinforces societal boundaries. Despite their influence, traditional institutions remain sidelined in the Nigerian constitution. Monarchs are still held accountable for local security, but without any constitutional backing or resources to effectively enforce it. As militancy and terrorism rise, these rulers are expected to gather intelligence, mediate conflict, and help maintain peace. Yet, when crime strikes, security agencies often turn to them for answers. This places monarchs in a difficult position. While their grassroots connections can be valuable, over-reliance can lead to mistrust. And when a traditional ruler or institution is perceived as a state informant, community trust erodes, compromising the very flow of information that is critical to security. Trust then must be central to the mission of traditional rulers. Traditional rulers must remain unbiased arbiters of justice, not tools of the state, but trusted guides who hold the moral fabric of their communities together. The motto of the Nigerian Army, and please correct me if I'm wrong, victory comes from God? Did I get that right? Am I paraphrasing? All right. The motto of the Nigerian Army is victory comes from God. And it speaks directly to the work before us, because this is not just politics or policy. This is war. But it's not war with bullets. It is war with culture. Not on battlefields, but in homes, in schools, and in hearts. Legacy must be fought for. And as I'm standing among gallant officers, even now during peacetime, we understand what it means to fight for what matters. What we seek, strong family values and moral clarity, it will not come without resistance. The war must be waged daily in our minds, in the way we parent, in our leadership style, in the way we live our lives. And let us not forget, the strength to fight comes from God, but the victory also comes from God. But still, in this fight, we must also wield wisdom. The old saying goes, discretion is the better part of valor. So we must apply both discipline and compassion. Not just the rod, but also the rice. Be it plain white, jollof, fried, or Chinese, we should apply it. The balance of correction and care is what makes change sustainable. Traditional institutions will endure, not by clinging to old ways, but by preparing way for the future. The values we uphold, the righteousness we enthrone, the justice we deliver, and the trust that we build today, these are the seeds of a legacy that will stand tall tomorrow. Let us fight for it. Let us build it. Let us win, not just for ourselves, but for the generations that are yet to come. Victory comes from God, but the courage to fight for legacy, that must come from us. I thank you all for listening. I don't think I lost too many of you, so I think we were very successful in our speech today. God bless you all.